Suzi Robinson, how are you?
Real good.
Good, good, good. Thank you for making the trip all the way out here today. I appreciate it.
I was glad to do it, especially on a beautiful day like today.
Oh, it's the best. You are running for Nampa City Council, correct?
No, I'm
No,
not.
mayor. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I apologize. The last person was City Council. You're running for mayor.
Yes.
So, obviously, there's Eric and Rick. Talk to me about why you want to run for mayor of Nampa.
Well, there's several issues in Nampa. You mentioned the Ford, Idaho Center. The demographics of Nampa is actually a little bigger than the city I'm from. I'm from Lansing, Michigan originally. I moved here. Moved to Idaho in 2009, and I think a venue like the Ford Idaho Center belongs to the citizens. And as mayor, I would push not to sell it.
There are a lot of problems that people bring up when we talk about the Ford Idaho Center, right? Deferred maintenance and things of that nature. Do you, and solvency, capacity to carry itself, things of that nature, so it's not a continued drain on the taxpayer. Do you have ideas on how to address the deferred maintenance and then get it kind of making money so it supports itself?
Well, one way would be to get, you do have some stars come out. Music stars.
Yeah.
And one way to be able to get more of that, because you get more money if let's say you're hosting Willie Nelson, or you're hosting Taylor Swift even.
T-Swizzle.
Yeah.
God, don't bring Taylor Swift in. So it sounds like you're saying it's more of a management and booking issue.
Right, and you have to be able to sell it. I mean, I own a home improvement company. And I've been in sales all my life. I sold my home improvement business in Michigan. I don't do the physical labor. I wouldn't have any customers. But I've been in sales since I was 8 years old. I was selling brushes by Fuller Brush and Watkins Products and greeting cards door to door.
Yeah.
And then home improvements later on in life. And I was very good at it, still am. And the way you get people to come to that venue is be able to sell them. And you have to sell the taxpayers and do them. I'm not saying we should raise the taxes that much in Nampa, but there are things that the city needs, and they need the revenue. And the only way you gain that revenue is through a little bit higher property taxes or through bonds. And the last bond we tried to push didn't go through. And so it needs to be sold better. And you need to get more people out to vote. You don't have that many people, not enough people out voting. I think, don't hold me to this, but I think it was 30%. And I don't know how much for the presidential election, but probably more than that, but not the way it should be.
Right. Right, and especially for primary elections in May, you have an appalling rate of participation. I mean, some areas are like single digits, 8, 9%.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's rough. Okay, so the Ford Idaho Center, your position, keep it, do a better job booking, do a better job, use that booking revenue to maintain it better, and keep that asset for the citizenry.
Correct.
Gotcha. What do you think about the downtown, if we're talking about economic growth and kind of selling and booking better to generate more revenue for Ford Idaho, how do we generate more revenue for downtown, right?
Well, you get more people living downtown. So you have lofts. Lofts would be a great idea, and rent them.
Lofts.
Yeah, lofts.
Gotcha.
Michigan accent.
No, yeah, I gotcha.
Then you have...
Yeah, but how many starving artists can you tolerate in downtown Nampa? People work, live in the loft, big windows in front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. Another thing is to have more entertainment down there than we have. More high-end restaurants. We have a real nice high-end restaurant called the Brick 29. That's near the downtown area. On 11th. But we need more restaurants like that in Nampa. You have Olive Garden over, but that's Jane.
What about the egg factory, though, Susie? The egg factory is the best.
Well, you have a lot of seniors going there for breakfast. That's for sure.
Dude, I go there. Yeah, I would go there all the time, but it's like 45 minutes away. Even with that, I still go.
Yeah.
Like I schlep out there. It's worth it, man.
Well, eggs are good for you, that's for sure.
Oh, man, it's fantastic. That giant chicken on the roof is pretty cool. So knowing that Nampa's likely not going to go into the loft building business or the restaurant business, how can Nampa move forward and position itself to attract those businesses to come in? To either developers, say like, hey, we're the loft developers, and get more mixed use housing like that. And then how do you get the restaurants to want to come in with like a white tablecloth kind of thing?
You have to advertise and really sell it. The city, it's a growth factor. I'm a little bit progressive in my politics, and if you and the city council are able to sell the city, excuse my voice, it's
Allergies, yeah.
able to sell the city, that will help. And also, you have to be able to put the council meetings. It's on YouTube right now, but you have to put it live on cable television. And you have to let the people know that's where it's at, so they can watch the council meetings. You get more participation at the council meetings that way, and if the people are involved in the city, that'll help a lot.
Gotcha. More people in the city means more cars, right? And a big concern of a lot of people has been, look, what do you do with roads? The infrastructure maintenance, things of that nature. What do you think?
They need to be widened. That is a big problem in Nampa. You have when I first moved here in 2009, let's say I live off North Side Boulevard. I could turn there. It didn't take long, and I didn't have to worry about getting killed. But now there's so much traffic on North Side. You sit there at least 5 to 8 minutes. Gotcha. Waiting for the traffic to clear up. And it's all over Nampa. Midland, going downtown. It's everywhere.
One of the things they're actually taking away from, I think it's 9th to 15th or 8th to 15th Street on State, just outside or in Boise. They're actually going from 4 lanes down to 3. And what they're intending to do is, I think there's going to be like a center turn lane and then some bimodal paths on the sides of them and some other things. And the emphasis is, although we were 4 lanes going down to 3, I instantly heard that. I'm like, that sounds crazy.
I think it is crazy.
I talked to actually some traffic engineers after that, though. It was very interesting. They're like, look, what you end up getting when you have 4 lanes with no center turn lane is an incredibly dangerous road setup for pedestrians. And there have been multiple deaths in the city of Boise recently, because essentially what happens is, say you have 2 cars going west, right? 2 lanes going west. There's a pedestrian that tries to step out into the crosswalk, paying attention, waiting for a break. And the car in the slow lane comes to a stop because that car sees the pedestrian. And if there is a car behind that car that may not see the pedestrian, that car zips to the left into the fast lane of the 2 to pass around. And that car may not have enough time to stop once that car sees the pedestrian. And I was like, wow, that actually sounds dangerous. Turns out my mother-in-law had this exact experience. She was the car that stopped for a pedestrian, and the pedestrian started walking, and then a car zipped around and hit and killed that pedestrian. Like, she had to witness this whole thing. It was very sad. But there are a lot of problems with traffic that are, in my mind, counterintuitive to what I'm aware of, because I'm not a traffic engineer. So with widening streets in Nampa, that would require a whole lot of land purchasing and things of that nature. It'd be a very, very expensive project. Do you think that is the best option, or do you think that there's some degree of better, like, road engineering that could be done that would not potentially cost the same as acquiring land and all that construction?
Well, I mean, if you could come up with the same solution to the problem with the engineering, then that'd be the solution. But speaking of pedestrian deaths, I had a brother that was my roommate. And in October of 2023, 3 days after his birthday, he liked to go on walks. So he was down by Winco in Nampa.
Yeah.
He went across the street, and a guy hit and killed him. And I'm at home, and all of a sudden I get a call from the Ada County coroner, and that wasn't a good call.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So just something has to be done.
Yeah,
Done with the streets, either through engineering or through building.
right. And when it comes to pedestrian deaths, we need to add more skywalks. I'm not saying at every major intersection, but I'm saying more of them. And you have those lights that they're able to push a button and the light goes off and stops the cars. We need them, and if we don't have skywalks or undergrounds, we need to have those lights at all the major intersections, so that somebody can cross the street without worrying about getting killed.
When you talk about skywalks, it's essentially like a mini bridge for people to just cross the street, right?
Right.
I just want to. Okay, one concern that people have is really just, hey, look, we have to. I've been studying up on power a lot, and one problem that you have with Idaho power is that they say, look, if you have a certain number of blackouts, we can take your blackouts to zero instead of having one or two. I think it's like one per average per customer per year. They're like, we can go to zero. Okay. That's going to bring down the affordability of your power, right? When we talk about green energy, we say we're 50% green energy and 50% coal and gas. Okay. We can go to 100% green energy, but that's going to skyrocket your cost, right? So it's this balancing act of what is it that you want engaged with how much do you want to pay for it? And cost is a huge consideration for people, especially with utility bills, right? Like that's one of the number one considerations. When we talk about safety on roadways, I have to imagine it's a similar kind of thing, which is, hey, look, you could build skyways or tunnels at every intersection for pedestrians. But the question is, how much do the citizens of Nampa want to pay for that versus, the safety that they would gain from it? What do you think about weighing the cost and the benefit?
Well, then again, it's got to be sold to the citizens, because it's not going to be cheap.
Right.
And you don't have to do it overnight. I mean, maybe you do one next year, and you do one the year after, and so on and so forth, or one or two. And like I say, you don't put them at every major intersection, just some.
Gotcha.
Because let's say you're on Caldwell Boulevard. Okay, so there's a major intersection over by Winco. Now that would be a good place. There's also one right on North Side. But as long as you have this, let's say you have them spread out, then that'd be fine. Or those lights I was talking about.
Gotcha.
In fact, that'd be a cheaper option.
Seems like, yeah, the ones they have those on what is it, Harrison, down in Boise. I was driving there yesterday to go to a thing, and they had the lights. Got it. So bottom line is we need better or different infrastructure to protect pedestrians in Nampa. And, it doesn't have to be a full rollout, but there needs to be things done, even if it's going to require investment.
Right. The population is around 108,000 people, and that's a lot of people. So those things need to be done, because what Nampa has now is just basically the same city they had when I moved here, when it was only about 80,000 people.
Gotcha. Talk to me about law enforcement, because this is a big thing, obviously in all cities.
Okay, now we can't let Caldwell beat us on that, and they're doing it. They come up with something that's very innovative. It's not a new concept. It's concepts used in major cities, but it's very proactive, and that's beefing up their patrols in areas of high crime, so that they can prevent crimes before it happens. Well, Nampa they don't have that. It needs to be implemented.
Do you, again, question of cost and benefit, right? Do you think that the police service is sufficiently funded in Nampa, or do you think that they need more funding to accomplish that goal?
More funding. If you have crime, the police need to be funded right. You need more officers.
Gotcha. Talk to me about growth in general, right? Because again, Nampa, I had somebody in here recently was talking about Nampa as it used to be this very agricultural area, like 40, 50 years ago. And it has become less so, obviously, because farmers have sold off land to developers and farmers made money and then the developers developed and they presumably made money. And then, we have more stock of housing and the whole bit, but it takes land, right? So you have the options to push out into the agricultural areas or obviously try to get people to infill and go up. How do you think that Nampa should manage growth?
Well, the thing is, you can't be resistant to change and have progress. And, we do have agricultural areas, but I believe that we should continue to push out. Because there's agriculture areas all over Idaho, and you're not losing that much. If you lose my voice, I'm sorry. You lose
Take your time.
You lose land in Nampa. It's not going to kill the agriculture in Idaho. It's not going to make us the state that's not of famous potatoes and so on and so forth.
There is an argument towards consolidating density instead of pushing out that essentially leans into, look, if you have more people in a very specific area, it's easier to attract businesses because like a coffee shop, right? It's like, do you want to be a coffee shop at the bottom of a 5-story, condo complex where, all the people in the condo complex come downstairs every single day and they have to pass by your front door? Or do you want to be a coffee shop on like a long strip with just a bunch of, no pedestrian foot traffic and things like that. Do you think that there's a place for increasing density downtown with the goal, at the very least, of trying to make downtown more attractive for businesses?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can increase the size of the downtown area by eminent domain. The practice of that, buy up maybe a few houses and neighborhoods and then increase the area.
And when you say, so you would force the purchase from a couple neighborhoods. And then what do you do with that once you get it?
Then you attract developers to come in and create businesses in more living space and so on and so forth.
Gotcha. So essentially track them in to build multi-use, like essentially like apartments on top or condos on top and commercial down below.
Correct. That's a good concept. The old Karcher law, that's a concept that they're implementing in that area. And eventually that'll be a good mall. Again, not inside, but outside.
Gotcha. Coming back to not roads specifically, but transportation in general, this is a huge question for a lot of people with, for instance, city expenditures. Valley Regional Transit is, obviously operates the bus lines, and you have domestic, kind of within Nampa, you have rides on demand for senior citizens that don't feel comfortable driving or shouldn't be. Then you also have long poles that go, Nampa to Boise, and it does cost about $1 million. That's the input from the city of Nampa annually. Do you think that should stay where it is, be decreased, increase?
Increase. You need to get the federal government to give us more funds for that. You take other cities the same size as Nampa, they have those funds. When I first came to Nampa and saw how Valley Regional Transit operated, I laughed, because you didn't have enough ridership. I was working for Quest Communications at the time, and when I moved here from Seattle, I had a bus pass, so I didn't have to fool with the traffic, and it saved money on gas going back and forth every day. I bought a bus pass, and the first day, and then a few days after that, the bus didn't come at 6 o'clock at night, so I had to find another ride home. So that's one thing. Another thing, I don't think people are sold on ridership. I believe there's a lot of people that would love to get out of the traffic that we have, and that'd be the way to do it.
Gotcha. So essentially, it sounds like you're saying provide more service to increase ridership as a more valuable option, because if you have limited time frame options, then you're going to have less ridership and less utilization.
Right, and you need BRT lanes. You need them in the city, and you need them on I-84 for sure. If you have bus rapid transit, that takes a lot of the traffic away that you would have on those roadways or highways.
Gotcha.
And if also eventually, Treasureville area is going to almost big enough now for light rail. And they're talking about we have a rail system that could be utilized. So that's one way. Another way is to have light rail like they have in areas like Phoenix, Arizona, and
Yeah, right.
Portland, Seattle.
Right. With Nampa growing so much, and people like myself moving here from out of state, what do you think can be done or should be done or is being done to continue preserving the Nampa culture and just the way that the city is?
Well, as far as preserving the culture in Nampa, that may be a difficult thing because you get a lot of people moving from out of state. And if you move here from California or Oregon, some of the people might have a similar culture, but a lot of them don't. And so I think eventually the culture is not going to be the same. It's change. It's like there is anywhere else. And it's progress when it changes. I'm not saying that politically they should change the Democrats, because that's not going to happen, I don't think. But as far as the culture goes, well, you have a lot of LDS,
Mm-hmm.
and I have friends that are LDS, and they're good people. I think there's 10 LDS churches or districts. I don't know if I forgot what they call it. And then you have a lot of Nazarene churches because you have the Northwest Nazarene University, which is actually a good university to go to for certain things. And so that culture is not going to change. But the culture and the people that aren't involved with that, LDS or Nazarene Church, could be,
Gotcha. Suzi, we've talked about a lot of things already. My goodness. Economics, roads, Ford Idaho Center, law enforcement, growth, ag land. Is there anything that we're missing?
Yeah.
Hit me with it.
When I ran for mayor the first time, I looked at Nampa and the demographics of it, the population. And I seen that we only had 4 council people. The city needed 6. We needed one council person, north, south, east, and west, and then 2 at large. So they adopted 6 council people, but they failed to take 2 of them and put them at large. So now you have 2 council people interfering with other areas, maybe the area that they live in or whatever. And that's not the way it should be done. So that's one thing, a very important thing.
Yeah, I gotcha. I've never heard that. But what you're saying kind of makes sense, which is, look, have quadrants, essentially, have 4 people that represent specific areas, but then have a couple people that are like the unifying glue that go kind of become general experts and the broader picture.
Right. And those at-large council people generally become council presidents, and then some of them eventually become mayor. So that's what they need to change. And I talked to Mayor Kling, Debbie, about that, and she says, "Yeah, I tried to get that, but they didn't vote it in that way."
Gotcha. Well, Suzi, I appreciate your perspective on things. You definitely have a clear vision for what you would like to see in the city. Anything else we're missing?
Well, we do support things like the College of Western Idaho, but not enough. And you're in education.
Yes.
Education needs to be sold better. I mean, I'm not saying everybody has to go to college, but if they're not going to college, then we have industry in Nampa or other jobs that they can take on without college, but it needs to be sold. We need to support colleges like College of Western Idaho more and Northwest Nazarene University, and get people to understand that not everybody has to go to Boise State.
Yeah, I actually have President Gordon Jones from CWI coming on soon, which I'm very excited about. And just had President Robert Wagner on. I think that episode published yesterday. And again, both individuals at the head of colleges and universities where, they are doing things that are absolutely necessary right now today. There's a large criticism of higher education that I think some institutions have worked very hard to earn. But it's like, who's criticizing the welders training at CWI? Like, who's criticizing the draftsman program to help people become draftsmen for architecture firms? Like, who's criticizing these things? And if you are, it's bonkers to me. Like, I agree. If you don't want to train more nurses and have better, more robust access and whatnot to nursing programs at ISU, it's like, do you not want? We obviously have a national shortage of nurses, and we have problem with that here as well. So
and doctors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
you go to a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
As a rule.
Yeah.
The thing is, there is a climate right now where they're trying to say education's not good. And I'll tell you, I have one of the residents where I live, and I was talking about education to her. She says, I wouldn't send anybody to college. I says, why is that? And she says, because all the professors are socializing the people into Marxism. That's not true. It's absolutely not true. You might have one or two, but the rest of them don't do that. I took political science at Boise State, and I didn't have one professor that was like that. And I got my degree from Michigan State University when I was 43 years old in 1993, and a BA. And none of my professors were like that. And then my master's degree at Aquinas College in Grand Rapids, Michigan, none of my professors were socialistic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can't really make a lot of commentary. I can say that I did a liberal art, graduated with a liberal arts degree in 2004, and I can't say that capitalism was fondly looked upon. So, I think it really just depends on the degree. I think it depends on the community that you're in, and I think it also very much just, as painful as it is, it totally just depends on the professor. You could be teaching the exact same things and, have one person with a certain political leaning that intertwines that into the teachings, which is unfortunate.
Now, when I went to Boise State, we had one professor that was preaching against women. And so they ended up putting him on some kind of a sabbatical. And people were protesting. So, you're going to get one.
Yeah, sure. There's always one of the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Suzi, thank you for coming in. Thanks for clearly articulating your vision. I definitely understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I just appreciate it. And thanks for running. If I may ask, how many times have you run?
Well, this would be my first time.
Gotcha.
Every time I've ran, they have implemented one of my ideas. So we'll see if they do it this time.
If I may, that's one of the greatest things about these campaigns, because I tell people, look, win, lose, or draw, you're bringing ideas to the table,
Correct.
Right? You may not have the collective participation of the community, or maybe, 8 of your 10 ideas are not things that people like, but 2 that you bring to the table. You're like, man, I had never thought about that. Things of that nature. You bring important issues to the table, and there is a place for that within the campaign and within contributing to the community. So I always view people coming in. It's like, look, this person is trying to contribute something, understand what it is. Yeah. And I love to hear that it's like, hey, look, It is a lot to run, but I bring my issues and my thoughts to the table, and then they're heard, and some get adopted. It's awesome.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming in. Thanks for what you're doing for
All
Nampa.
right. Well, thanks for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely.